Good afternoon, everyone. This is Pastor Nelson Lee with the Agape Livecast, and this is an update on Tropical Storm Beryl, which is about to enter into the Gulf of Mexico and is certainly a threat to Texas. Shout out to Sarah and Rhonda, my friends in Texas, and so I want to give you guys an update because this is kind of playing out how I feared. The trough of low pressure I spoke about in my last video is definitely becoming a player in pulling Beryl up towards the north a little bit further than anticipated. However, the other player is that Beryl was a lot stronger in the Western Caribbean than was forecasted, and that imparted a little bit more northerly component to the track than was forecasted. And also, there is another feature that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But this is the latest official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. You can see that it's got it making landfall right around Corpus, perhaps a little bit further north. And you can see that is a significant shift from the previous advisory from the Hurricane Center this morning. And if we go back to yesterday, you can see it shifted from last night where it was south of Brownsville, and then if we go back to yesterday morning, the track was about the same, but now we are all the way up near Corpus, and I would not be surprised at all to see that track shift even further to the right, and we'll see why here in just a few minutes. So taking a look at Beryl, we have the coordinates of 21.2 north, 89.2 west, and the initial motion right now is, they say, towards the west-northwest at 15. Looks to me, that is a long-term motion for sure, but it looks to me it's been traveling a little bit more towards the northwest, and it is about to come out over the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. It's moving at about 15. Pressure's up all the way to 989 millibars. The Yucatán has definitely taken a toll on Beryl, and the National Hurricane Center has issued a hurricane watch for the Texas coast from the mouth of the Rio Grande all the way up to Sargent. And I wouldn't be surprised to see tropical storm watches issued further up the coast, probably towards the mouth of Sabine or maybe Galveston. And then these watches will become warnings probably sometime tomorrow. So, one of the biggest threats that Beryl's going to be known for is its rainfall. And the reason why is, as you can see, as the cone expands here, that is the reason. The reason for that is because it's slowing down. It's definitely going to slow down. Now we're not dealing with a slow mover at all, like Harvey or anything like that. But it's definitely going to slow down and going to cause heavy rain. You can see that this orange area here is 6 inches plus. Now, we can definitely see isolated amounts of 8 to 10 inches, if not a little higher in some spots. And anticipate this to shift more to the right, as the track, I believe, is going to shift to the right. And this is your likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds. And you can see that that is along the coast at around 8 o'clock Monday morning. Perhaps maybe back that up a little bit. If you look at the earliest reasonable time, that's sometimes Sunday night. So I would probably mix the two in there. Maybe sometime early Monday morning, late Sunday night. So we can see here we have a peak storm surge forecast of up to 5 feet up to Sargent. Again, I expect some of this maybe to shift to the right a little bit. I don't believe the track is done shifting to the right, and we'll look at why that is here in a minute. So, taking an overall look at what's going on with Beryl, one of the reasons that I mentioned that Beryl had moved a little bit more to the right in her track was because she had stayed fairly strong. The forecast had called for Beryl to really weaken in the Western Caribbean, and that did not happen like they had forecasted. The forecast had called for her to go all the way down to a Cat 1. Well, she maintained her intensity up towards Cat 2, Cat 3. But the other reason is there's this spin you can see very notably in this dry air and this water vapor imagery in the western Gulf of Mexico. And that is helping tug Beryl a little bit more to the north. Now, these upper level lows are notoriously hard to forecast for. There's just not a lot of data in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and the computer models, even though they're a lot better than they used to be, they still have a little bit difficult time in forecasting these upper level lows. And what you can definitely see going on is see how these clouds are starting to fan out from Beryl where they weren't earlier today. Right now it is 5 o'clock Central Time. This satellite loop starts around midnight last night. You can see the outflow was kind of restricted over Beryl, but now it's really starting to fan out, and that's going to help get Beryl jump started as she gets over the warmer waters. Looking at the infrared, you can see that there's not a lot of deep convection going on over Beryl right now, and that is because simply she's been over the Yucatán Peninsula. As she starts to move over the Gulf of Mexico, probably early in the morning hours, overnight, early morning hours, I expect these bright reds to start firing up again. It's going to take it a little while. It's going to have to get past the Yucatan Peninsula. It's going to have to get past the drawing in of the dry air over that happens over land. But once it does, I expect these bright reds to start firing up over the center. And if we look at the visible imagery, it does look like Beryl survived with its core intact, which should keep it going and cause it to re-strengthen fairly rapidly once it gets out over the central Gulf of Mexico. So I'm anticipating that Beryl will be a very strong Cat 1, Cat 2 hurricane easily as it makes the Texas coast, but there are some potential for even further strengthening. Now, the tropical storm guidance is in pretty good agreement with a central Texas Gulf coastal landfall. However, what I want to show you all is that you can see over the last 4 model runs how the track has just kept walking up the coast. And matter of fact, if we go even further back in time, we can see that is just each track, each run has gone progressively even further. So we don't know if this trend is going to stop. That's the question. So if we look at what's going on with the track density, we can see that even though the official track is down here towards Corpus, we have a whole lot of tracks that are further east up towards Matagorda. And if we take a look at all of them here, look at that density right there. Look at where the ensemble mean is. And so this is the choir singing together. And the choir singing together brings it in upwards of Matagorda. But there's also another problem with this. If we go back and look at where the center is and where the hurricane center has Beryl right now, we can see that it is right there coming off the the northern tip of the Yucatan, right in here. And we can see that right there. There's the center. Well, let's look at where the computer models initialized the center and where they have Beryl located. You can see they're already kind of west of the track. So I anticipate that they're going to have to shift east just to catch up with the current location. And then we have to throw in this upper level low and what's it going to do. So why is this all happening? Well, again, we have this break in the ridge. You can see right now the ridge is fairly well established over Texas. We have it a cell of the ridge over the southeastern United States. We have a stronger cell over California, and we have this broad trough of low pressure that's located over the central United States. And it's been forecasted to be there for quite a while. You can see we can go back in time all the way to yesterday morning, and the model has actually done a pretty good job with forecasting the ridge. The thing it's not done a good job with is where Beryl is going to be. If we go back all the way to yesterday, you can see that the model had Beryl coming in all the way down south of Brownsville. But now the model wants to bring Beryl, this model, particularly the European, which is a very good model, wants to bring Beryl all the way up the Texas coast. So we can see that here in the European deterministic model. This is the 925 millibars, so just a little bit above the surface. We can see that the European really starts to swing it to the right and brings it in around Matagorda. So that's the reason why I say don't be surprised if the track is not done shifting to the right, and if they don't walk it east at the 10 o'clock advisory, maybe another 60 miles or so. So what does the upper level winds look like? What do they look like after Beryl gets over the central Gulf of Mexico? So here's the 36-hour forecast. And then as we get into 36 hours, you can see there's really going to be nothing that's going to keep Beryl from strengthening. It's got pretty good outflow aloft. And so I anticipate Beryl is going to re-strengthen fairly rapidly. I do not know if it's going to have the capacity to rapidly intensify like we saw what it did over east of the Caribbean Sea. That is a slight possibility. But the bottom line is all of the Texas coast must keep their eye on Beryl. And those of you in the Houston area, even though the official forecast right now is all the way down to Corpus, you definitely must keep an eye on this. You need to keep or start making preparations just in case the track continues to walk east. I would imagine that you are definitely going to feel some impacts on this from flooding, from flash flooding and stuff like that, because you saw the amount of rain that is forecasted. You're forecasted to at least get 4 to 6 inches, but do not be surprised if you do not get much more than that. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on this for all of you. And remember, the prudent see danger and take cover. It doesn't mean they hide, they're scared, but they take preparations and they see what's coming and they take preparations. It's the simple that keep on going and act like nothing's wrong and they suffer the consequences. So now's the time to just kind of check your hurricane kits, check and make sure that you've got a place to go if you had to. I still think that the odds of a direct hit at Houston are around 20% right now. It looks like the furthest north I would anticipate it going would be probably somewhere around Sargent. But you're not out of the woods yet, Houston. So keep an eye on this, and I'll definitely be putting out more videos. Until next time, may God bless you.